You are a technician. Your official title is Senior Maintenance Officer. This sounds important. It is not. You are a glorified janitor with a plasma wrench. Your home is a forgotten monitoring station, Station Epsilon, a tiny metal can floating in the deep black. Your only job is to keep the station running. You watch the sensors. They watch the void. Nothing has happened in 50 years. Nothing is ever supposed to happen. But today, something is wrong. It started with your morning coffee. The machine sputtered in a way it never had. The coffee tasted fine, or as fine as station coffee ever does, but the feeling lingered. A deep hum of wrongness. Not a sound your ears could hear. It was a vibration in the fabric of reality itself. A single note in the universe's grand song, played horribly out of tune. You feel it in your bones. You check the diagnostics for the 10th time.
All systems are green. Every sensor is nominal. Every machine is functioning perfectly. According to the data, everything is fine. But the data is wrong. The universe is lying to you. And you are about to find out why. You cannot shake the feeling. It is an itch in your mind. You have run every diagnostic known to humanity. You have even invented a few new ones. The station's equipment is not failing. It is a terrifying thought. The problem is not in your machines. The problem is outside. You stop looking for equipment errors. You start looking for something else, something hidden. You route all sensor feeds to your personal console. You bypass the standard filters. You want to see the raw, unfiltered chaos of the cosmos, the background radiation of space-time. For days, you stare into the static. You lose track of sleep. You live on nutrient paste and that awful coffee. Then, you see it. A pattern. Not a wave of energy, not a radio broadcast. It is a pulse, a slow, rhythmic adjustment in the physical constants of the universe. Someone is changing the rules. This is not a natural phenomenon. It is deliberate. It is precise. It is a signal hidden inside the laws of physics, a message written on the source code of reality. And you are the only person in the universe who seems to be listening. The hum is not just wrongness. It is a warning. You work frantically to decode the signal. Your mind races, connecting dots no one else knew existed. The signal is not just a message. It is an instruction set, a cosmic software update. Someone is retuning the universe, optimizing it for a new purpose. The language of the code is elegant. It is beautiful in its terrible efficiency. You see the changes it is making. A minute alteration to the strong nuclear force. A tiny tweak to the charge of an electron. Each change is almost undetectable on its own, but together, they are a death sentence. These new parameters will make complex carbon chemistry impossible. The very foundation of life as you know it is being overwritten. The process is slow. It will take centuries, but it is unstoppable. The star-born architects, as you name them, are not attacking you. They are simply tidying up. Humanity is not a foe to be vanquished. It is a bug being patched out of existence. You send your findings to command, a panicked, desperate message. You imagine them reading it. They will think you have gone mad from isolation. A technician babbling about the universe being reprogrammed. They will send a ship to replace you, but before they can even reply, the heralds arrive. They appear without warning, shimmering beings of pure energy. They hang in space above Earth and every major colony. They do not have ships, they do not have weapons. They are simply there, silent, watching. Observers from a higher plane of existence, heralds of the void. They do not speak with sound.
Their message floods the mind of every human at once. It is a voice of cold, absolute certainty, a voice of crushing indifference. It says, your species is an error, a temporary anomaly in a system designed for perfection. You are an interesting but irrelevant glitch. The message is clear. Your time is over. The universe is being upgraded, and you are not part of the new design. The heralds are not here to fight you. They are here to watch the system correct itself. They are cosmic moderators waiting for the patch to finish installing and for you to be deleted. Panic ignites across the human worlds. The herald's message was a psychic blow. But fear quickly turns to defiance. Humanity did not claw its way to the stars to be called an error. The combined star fleets of every nation mobilize. A grand armada, the pride of your species, gathers to face the silent watchers. It is a brave and foolish gesture. They fire everything they have. Torpedoes armed with collapsed matter, lasers that can slice through moons, the entire arsenal of a species that perfected war. And it does nothing. Absolutely nothing. The weapons do not bounce off a shield. They do not miss. They simply stop. One moment a missile is streaking toward a herald. The next, it is gone. Not exploded, just erased from reality. The herald's defense is not technology. They have locally suspended the law of cause and effect. An attack cannot land if the concept of landing no longer applies. The fleets are helpless. They shatter against the unassailable defenses of beings who treat physics as a suggestion. The leaders of your world are broken. Their power is meaningless. In their terror, someone remembers a panicked message, a wild report from a lone technician on a forgotten station. Your report. With all other options turned to dust, they turn to you. Their last, desperate, impossible hope. A secured channel opens on your console. The face of the fleet's supreme commander appears. A man you have only seen in news broadcasts. His face is grim, his voice is heavy with the weight of worlds. He asks you to explain. He tells you to assume he is not a scientist, but he is also not an idiot. You lay it all out. You show him your data. You explain the hum, the hidden signal, the cosmic reprogramming. You tell him their weapons failed because they were trying to fight the symptoms, not the cause. The problem isn't the heralds. They are just messengers. The problem is their master, the architect. You tell him the universe is not made of math and physics. That is just the language we use to describe it. The universe itself is made of language, a primal, fundamental code, a story being told, and the architects are the authors. The commander listens, his skepticism warring with his desperation. He asks the one question that matters. Can you do anything? You tell him you think you can learn the language. You think you can talk back. They give you everything. The secret laboratory is cleared on Luna. Earth's brightest minds are flown in to assist you. Physicists, linguists, philosophers. They all stare at you, the humble technician who now holds the fate of humanity. The pressure is immense. They expect miracles. They expect you to pull a rabbit out of a hat, or rather to pull existence out of a black hole. You ignore the complex theories they propose. You disregard the massive equations they scroll across the walls. They are still thinking in the old language, the language of math. You need to think in the primal tongue, the language of pure concept, of is and is not. You focus on something simple, a piece of granite on the conference table, a paperweight, an object with a clear, defined reality. It is heavy. It is solid. It is subject to gravity. These are its truths, its story. You decide to tell it a new one. You gather your will. You focus your entire consciousness on that single stone. You don't chant or wave your hands. You simply think. You form a single perfect word in the primal language, a word that means unbound. You speak this new truth into the stone's existence, and it listens. The stone trembles. Then it rises. It floats an inch above the table, perfectly still, defying gravity, defying everything the stunned scientists around you thought they knew. In the silence of the lab, you have spoken your first word of power. Your little trick with the rock did not go unnoticed. In the grand, silent library of the cosmos, you just whispered. But it was a whisper in a place where no one was supposed to speak. Across unimaginable distances, the mind behind the great reprogramming felt it. A flicker of rogue code, an unauthorized edit. The architect's gaze turns. It is not a physical sensation. No light flashes, no alarms blare, but you feel it. A sudden, crushing weight on your mind. The focused attention of an intellect as old as the stars. It is like being watched by a mountain, like having the entire universe peer into your soul. The architect now knows you exist, and it is not pleased. Feel its curiosity, cold and analytical. It probes your existence. It examines the tiny ripple you made in its grand design, the floating rock on Luna. To the architect, it is an anomaly, a fascinating but unacceptable deviation. You have gone from being part of a species being erased to a specific problem that needs to be solved. The hum of wrongness you once felt on the station returns, but now it is not a background noise. It is a focused, personal hum, a thrumming dissonance aimed directly at you. The architect is studying you, learning you, and you know with chilling certainty that it is deciding how best to delete its newest error. The leaders of humanity saw the floating stone. They saw you defy a fundamental law of the universe with a thought. For a moment, they were filled with hope. For a moment, you were their savior. That moment passed very, very quickly. Hope was replaced by a much older, much more human emotion. Fear. They looked at you, the technician who could speak to reality, and they did not see a weapon to use against the architects. They saw a weapon that could be used against them. What if you decided their leadership was flawed? What if you rewrote the laws of their own bodies? A being who can command a stone to float can surely command a heart to stop. The Supreme Commander, the man who begged for your help, now looks at you with cold calculation. He cannot control you. He cannot predict you, and so he cannot allow you to exist. You are too powerful, too dangerous. You went from being humanity's last hope to its greatest threat in the span of a single afternoon. That must be some kind of record. Alarms blare through the lunar facility. Soldiers in heavy armor storm the laboratory. Their orders are clear. Take you alive if possible. Eliminate you if necessary. You are now hunted by the very people you were trying to save. You have no time to argue, no time to explain. You grab the floating stone, your first creation, and run. You use your new clumsy grasp of the primal language to bend the rules just enough to escape. A door that should be locked opens. A camera that should see you does not. You slip into the darkness, a fugitive from your own kind. You steal a small courier ship, a tiny fast vessel designed for anonymous deliveries. It becomes your sanctuary, your workshop, your prison. You are alone, on the run from everyone, hunted by the architects from across the galaxy, hunted by humanity from the planet next door. It is a uniquely terrible situation. It forces you to learn, fast. There are no more labs, no more scientists to help you. It is just you, the hum of the ship's engines, and the language of the universe. You practice constantly. You start small. You take stray micro-asteroids and change their composition. Iron becomes gold, rock becomes crystal. It is a parlor trick, but it is practice. You are building your vocabulary. You move on to bigger concepts. You learn to bend light around your ship. You make it invisible to all sensors. You learn to manipulate space-time itself. Not with engines, but with will. You fold space, creating tiny instantaneous jumps. You can only move a few thousand kilometers at a time, but it is enough to stay ahead of your pursuers. You are no longer a technician. The person you were is a distant memory. You are becoming something else, something new. You are mastering the source code of reality. Every day you become more fluent in the primal language. And with every new word you learn, the universe becomes a little less solid, a little more editable. From the solitude of your ship, you watch the war. It is not a war. It is a slaughter. Human fleets charge the heralds. They fight with courage and fury, and they die. Ship after ship is unmade, erased from existence. Morale is collapsing. Humanity is staring into the abyss, and the abyss is staring back with cold indifference. You cannot fight a war on two fronts. You cannot take on the architects while also dodging your own people. But you cannot stand by and do nothing. You are a ghost, a whisper in the code. You decide to help them from the shadows, to become a ghost in their machine. During a desperate battle over the colony on Titan, a human destroyer takes a fatal blow. Its shields are gone. Its core is about to breach. You see it. You focus your will. You reach across millions of kilometers and speak a new truth to the ship's hull. The command for unbroken. The gaping wounds in its armor seal themselves. The core stabilizes. The crew stares in disbelief as their ship becomes whole again. This is how you fight your war. You cannot give them new weapons. The architects would notice such a large change. But you can make the old ones better. A frigate's shields suddenly become twice as strong for 3 critical seconds. A torpedo's explosive yield inexplicably triples at the moment of impact. The human fleet begins to see impossible things. They call them miracles. They do not know it is you, their fugitive, tipping the scales one small edit at a time. You have grown stronger. Your control over the primal language is no longer clumsy. It is becoming second nature. The small miracles you perform for the fleet are becoming bigger, more impactful. A whole squadron of fighters finds their fuel tanks are suddenly full in the middle of a dogfight. An entire capital ship, moments from destruction, simply vanishes and reappears a safe distance away. The architects notice. Their analytical gaze sharpens on the conflict. They see these statistical impossibilities, these blatant violations of their new orderly physics. The heralds are merely observers. They cannot stop you. The architects realize they are not just patching a system, they are now in a conflict with a rogue programmer. They are trying to stamp out a fire, and you are the one fanning the flames. It is time to stop hiding. It is time to get the attention of the entity in charge. Whispering is no longer enough. You need to shout. You find a vast, dark nebula, a cloud of inactive gas and dust spanning light years, a perfect blank canvas. You take a deep breath, gathering your power. You focus your will not on a ship or a stone, but on the entire nebula. You speak a single word into its heart, a command of pure creative energy, a word of primal fire. Across the void, the nebula ignites. Swirling clouds of hydrogen and helium begin to fuse. A new star is born where none should be. But it's not just a star. The light coalesces. It forms shapes, letters, a word of fire burning brightly enough to be seen across the quadrant. A message aimed at the architect, a challenge it cannot ignore. The word is talk. The architect receives your message. Your burning word in the sky is an act of ultimate defiance, an act it cannot tolerate. There is no reply, no negotiation. Its response is swift, and direct. It sends its hunters. The shimmering, untouchable heralds are repurposed. Their mission is no longer to observe. It is to find you and to delete you. 3 of them appear around your small ship. They form a triangle of silent, energy-based death. The space inside the perimeter begins to warp. The laws of physics are shredding. They are not attacking your ship with energy. They are unmaking the reality it occupies. This is how they erased the warships. This is how they intended to erase you. But you are not a warship. You do not fight with matter or energy. You fight with ideas. You look at them, not with your eyes, but with your mind. You see them for what they are, not beings, but complex constructs, subroutines in the architect's grand program. And every program can be edited. You find the core command line that defines their existence, the line that says, Herald equals active. You do not try to overpower it. You do not try to delete it. You do something much simpler. With a focused thought, as simple as typing on a keyboard, you edit that line of code. You add a single character at the beginning, a pound sign, a hashtag, the universal symbol for ignore this line. You comment them out. Their shimmering forms flicker. The immense pressure on your ship vanishes. For a single, silent moment, they hang in the void. 3 beautiful, terrifying impossibilities. Then, they simply cease to be. They do not explode. They do not fade away. They are just gone. You did not destroy them. You just told the universe to skip their chapter. Your move sends a shockwave through the cosmos, not of energy, but of pure astonishment. The architect has existed for eons. It has rewritten galaxies. It has silenced stars, but it has never, ever faced this. An opponent who could not just resist its power, but casually edit its most powerful servants out of existence. It is a move beyond its comprehension. The crushing weight of its attention vanishes. It is replaced by something new, a sense of respect, or perhaps just profound confusion. This changes everything. You are not just a glitch. You are a competing operating system. And so, an invitation appears in your mind. Not words, not images. A set of coordinates. A single point in space-time. A summons to a meeting. There is no threat attached, no ultimatum. It is a simple, clear request. You know it is a risk. It could be a trap, but you also know this is the only way. You cannot hide forever. You cannot win a war of attrition against the universe itself. You have to face the author. You turn your small ship towards the coordinates. You speak a word of travel, and the stars themselves warp to carry you there. You arrive. The coordinates do not lead to a star system or a planet. They lead to a place outside of normal space, a conceptual realm, a throne room the size of a solar system. Before you, there is no monster, no alien being of tentacles and eyes. The architect is a being of pure geometry, a living, shifting construct of light and logic. It is beautiful and terrifying. You stand before it, a tiny human in a small ship, a footnote in its grand cosmic history. The conversation begins, not in words, but in pure concept. It explains its purpose. It seeks to create a perfect universe, stable, predictable, eternal. It eliminates chaos. It smooths out the imperfections. Life, with its messy, unpredictable nature, is an imperfection. You argue back. You send it the feeling of a child's laughter, the taste of your first coffee on the station, the terror and courage of the fleet fighting for its existence. You argue that chaos is not a flaw. It is the source of potential, of novelty, of beauty. You show it that a perfect system is a dead system. A story with no surprises is not worth reading. Your battle is not one of energy blasts and shields. It is a battle of philosophy. A debate over the very meaning of existence. You cannot destroy the architect. To even try would be like a single word in a book trying to destroy the author. It is too fundamental, too woven into the fabric of everything. Erasing it would unravel reality itself. All of creation would collapse into meaningless static. This is not a problem you can solve by deleting it. But you are not just a word in the book anymore. You have learned to write. You can add a new page. You can introduce a new rule. The architect's logic is flawless, but its premises are incomplete. It operates on a core set of axioms. You decide to add one more. A foundational law that will underpin all the others. You gather all your will, all your understanding, all your experience as a flawed, chaotic, beautiful human. You speak your final truth into the heart of creation, a single, elegant line of code that will now be the first law of existence. It is a simple law. Existence shall not inhibit existence. A universal, inalienable right to simply be. The architect shudders. Its perfect geometry wavers as your new law integrates itself into its core programming. It cannot reject it. Your law is as fundamental as its own. It is now bound by your rule. It can still create, it can still build, but it can no longer destroy. It can no longer optimize life out of its universe. The great reprogramming stops. Humanity and every other chaotic, messy life form in the cosmos is now protected by you. The architect remains. But you are now the guardian of the first law, the human who argued with God and won.